Agyantamandasya Agyanandara Sharakaya Chakshunmilitandana Tasmai Shri Chaitanya Manopisam Stavinamyatane Swayam Rupakaramayam Navati Svatikam Nama Vishnavaya Krishavisa Uttani Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Putraine Nivashisha Srimivadi Pashatani Shatari Vanchakapa Drivasya Kripa Sindhu Vyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So how do we do it with the language? Who is translating? Bamsi Prabhu is not here today.
I can try.
So then you should sit somewhere in the corner with those who need translation.
I think it would be better to come here because the sound system is there.
Okay, fine.
Whatever needs translation, you can sit here.
You have to say that in Bulgarian.
But because he don't know Bulgarian, I think also English. Който не знае английски, може да седне в този урок, а който знае, може да седне в другия.
Който ни разбира английски.
Наши английски.
Maybe you should swap seats because he will not hear much. You have to sit in the middle and people have to sit around you. And better if you sit higher and behind people. Hang on. Oh, he wants to have the chair.
Yes.
Well,
That's good.
all right, we'll try like that. Usually the translator sits higher
Yeah, because the sound is going.
and sits behind people and talks to them. But anyway, you're tall.
Yes.
You know, so yes. And you have to move a little closer. Otherwise you cannot hear. Okay? All right. Good. So thank you so much for coming to our last session on the topic of false ego. So we have a few devotees here who were not here yesterday or the day before yesterday. So let us remember, yesterday we were discussing the first important rule of Vaishnava etiquette in regards to giving up the false ego, which is that we should not defend ourselves. A Vaishnava defends others. What's the problem, Mataji? It creates restlessness if you wander around. You got everything you need?
I need water to remember.
Okay, so yes, yes. Vaishnava never defends him or herself, but we defend others. Yes, you can understand me? You can hear? Okay. You can also move with your chair here. Or you need the heat with it. I'm hot. I'm doing some hard work here, you see. Yeah, so Vaishnava never defends him or herself, but when others are badly treated, then we involve ourselves and we defend that person. So, and we were saying if everybody follows this rule of Vaishnava etiquette, then no need to defend ourselves, because surely somebody would You have to talk faster. Don't wait until I finish the sentence, otherwise you miss the next one.
Ако всеки
So,
действа по този начин, няма да има никакви проблеми.
Yeah.
Защото
If everybody follows the version of etiquette, then no need to defend ourselves, because surely somebody else will defend us.
някой друг ще го защити,
Right?
той няма нужда за себе си.
But unfortunately, we all do the opposite. We defend ourselves very nicely every day.
Много добре, всеки ден.
But when others are badly mistreated, we don't say anything because we don't want to spoil our
И
relationships.
защитаваме, за да не разваляме.
So we were saying one of the main and foremost ways of defending our false ego, because that's what we do when we defend. We defend our false ego. This is by blaming others, pointing the finger at others. In other words, we say, oh, it's all their fault, but there's nothing wrong with me. So in that way we defend and protect our false egos. Or we answer back. We want to have the last word. So we were saying, especially towards seniors, but not only towards seniors, towards everyone, even equals or juniors, we should not do this. But especially towards seniors, towards guru. Or we were saying in married life, husband is considered to be superior. So we should actually not answer back to the husband or instruct him or correct him. This is all inappropriate according to Vaishnava etiquette. You should not do this towards somebody who is superior to us. Yeah, so and then what else did we talk about? Anybody remembers?
Was going a little bit question and answers.
Yeah. But these were the main points. So now this morning I do want to conclude this whole topic of this Vaishnava etiquette, of not defending. So very often people ask, well, but what about in material life? If we don't defend, then people walk all over us and we don't get anywhere. Right? That's usually a very common question. So, to answer this, I do want to share a little episode from my own life, because even in worldly dealings, we have to be very careful to consider, is it worthwhile defending or better not? So some 15 years ago, it so happened that the German taxation department charged me 1,500 euros tax, which I was not supposed to pay. They actually cheated me. They twisted things around and charged me some tax which I was not supposed to pay. And because I was traveling, I missed the 3 months period where I could object. Somebody else accepted the letter on my behalf. They didn't tell me what was in it. And by the time I got the letter, my 3 months time was up where I could respond. So, and of course, my false ego was, I was very angry about this. They're cheating me, what is this? How can they do this? And so I immediately rang the lady in the taxation department and we had a whole argument. You have to talk, otherwise you miss. As soon as I said something, you have to say. Yeah, so I was, immediately arguing with this lady, and she was saying, well, you can bring the whole matter to court if you like. You missed your 3 months period where you could say something, so you're free to take this matter to court. So, and my mind was very disturbed. I couldn't even chant anymore, and I couldn't stop thinking about this whole thing. So, and then, thank God, I remembered one quote from the Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada gives the solution to these situations. So yeah, sometimes it's good to know a little bit of Shastra, and I had written it in my verse book, so that's why I remembered, otherwise it probably wouldn't have. So I want to read you this. This is 4:1934 from the Bhagavatam, 4:1934. So the verse goes as follows. We should always remember that if something happens by providential arrangement, meaning Krishna's arrangement, we should not be very sorry. The more we try to rectify such reversals, the more we enter the darkest region of materialistic thought. Yes. So now Prabhupada gives a nice purport. He says, sometimes the saintly or very religious person also has to meet with reversals in life. Such incidents should be taken as providential, as Krishna's arrangement. Although there may be sufficient cause for being unhappy, one should avoid counteracting such reversals. For the more we become implicated in rectifying such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest regions of material anxiety. So I definitely could experience that. I was entering the darkest regions of materialistic anxiety. Lord Krishna has also advised us in this connection. One should tolerate things instead of becoming agitated. Yeah, so thank God I remembered this. And I thought, okay, maybe I didn't pay that much tax in this lifetime. So maybe I still owe them something. So let them have it. And I simply paid the €1,500. Finished. Yes. So of course my false ego for some 1 or 2 days, it was still protesting that, this is not fair, they cheated you, it's Krishna's Lakshmi, I could have spent that money in a better way. And you ladies both understand English? Because here we have translation. So if you want to sit in front of him, then you will hear very nicely what he says. So best to sit right in front of him. Yes. Okay. Then he will talk into your right ear. That's how we should receive spiritual knowledge. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how I solved the whole issue. Even though my false ego was still protesting for a couple of days, but then I remembered, is it important at the moment of death whether I paid this €1,500 or not? And I decided, no, it's not important. It's all part of the nonsensical stage performance, which we discussed yesterday. The nonsensical stage performance of life in the material world So at the moment of death, curtain closes, show is over. The only thing that matters then is our relationship with Krishna. Nothing else. So whether I paid this money or not, no importance. Yes. So I'm simply sharing this to make this point, that even in mundane matters, we have to very carefully consider, is it worthwhile defending? Or maybe not. Maybe not. And of course, from a material point of view, if we don't defend, we look like the loser. Right? Actually, I put the story in the False Ego book, and the person who edited that book, he is a Prabhupada disciple from New Vrindavan, and after he edited that chapter, he was saying, "Oh Mataji, I think I would have not paid that money. I have to digest this." Yes. So from a material point of view, it looks like we are the loser, right? But from a spiritual point of view, we are the winner. Because we use this opportunity to let go of our false ego. Yes. So we may be very successful, fighting our way through life, constantly defending. But then at the moment of death, we have to take another birth in the material world because we did not let go of our false ego. Because to go back to Godhead, we have to transform and fully spiritualize the subtle body of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So all material aspects, impressions, attachments, desires, they all have to be replaced with spiritual impressions, desires, attachments, and experiences. So this requires quite some internal work. Not so easy, actually. That's why I think we can say for most persons, going back to Godhead is a journey over several lifetimes. Yeah. Not so easy. Yeah, so in any case, even in mundane dealings out there in the material world, we have to very carefully consider, what to do, whether it's worth it to defend, or then we may be getting into the deepest region of materialistic anxiety. We will have that one. Or whether we just let go, okay, must be Krishna's arrangement, and let them have it, and move on, drop the whole thing, move on. I mean, you imagine taking such an issue to court, oh my God, you would be busy for quite a while, completely absorbed in mundane matters, and you may not even win it. Oh my God, no, not worth it. But the false ego, demands justice, fairness. What is this? But no, we have to learn to see Krishna's hand in the whole picture. That obviously there's some reason why these things happen. And what is Krishna trying to teach me here? So of course we know Prabhupada was fighting quite a few court cases. But Prabhupada was fighting on behalf of Krishna. He was not fighting to get his personal justice. Right? Yes. That's the difference. So in this matter, whether to defend or not, again, we need the guidance of a counselor. I can't emphasize it enough. The importance of a counselor. Because as long as we have material attachments and desires, and I think we all do, we actually can't objectively assess ourselves. We can't see objectively where we stand in life, in all regards. So that's why we need somebody who is aloof of our situation, yes, and who can see, what's the best way of acting, and whether our practice is balanced, whether we are cutting some corners because they seem to be uncomfortable and inconvenient. And so this is happening a lot, that we don't take guidance and we think we know, but then others can see actually our practice is not balanced. We are trying to avoid things and try to weasel our way through life in a comfortable way or something. But that will not bring us to bhakti. So mentorship, counselor is a must. Also in regards to family issues, any family problem can be solved if both are willing to accept guidance and work on themselves, rather than pointing the finger at the other person and always demand and expect that the other person changes. Yes. So in any case, to get back to defending, so we have to very carefully consider and accept guidance from a person who's more experienced than we are, and who has an aloof position to look at things. So now this topic of not defending brings us to the topic of tolerance, right? Which is a whole big topic. So this morning I don't want to go so long because we want to leave after breakfast and so on. But let me quickly touch upon it. That tolerance is actually, we can see it as a secondary quality of humility. So humility is the primary quality, which manifests in so many secondary qualities, like tolerance, patience, forgiveness, gratitude. They're all secondary qualities of humility, right? In other words, a humble person will always be tolerant, grateful, respectful, patient, forgiving. But a proud person will never be like that. So tolerance is really one of the foremost qualities we have to cultivate, because tolerance can only manifest when the false ego is subdued. Right? And only then we can be tolerant. So what stops us from being tolerant is the false ego's demands. Yes. So tolerance is like the main criteria to measure a person's spiritual strength and advancement, and how tolerant that person can be. Famous example is always Haridas Thakur or Pradhan. They are embodying their personifications of tolerance. Right? Yes. So that's why they are remembered and worshipped. I do want to read you some quite powerful quotes from the Bhagavatam on tolerance. Actually, yesterday we discussed the purport to 1:1848. Right? You remember? So now we get the verse. So the verse is, the devotees of the Lord are so forbearing, which means tolerant, that even though they are defamed, even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves. So to avenge means to take revenge. Actually, to take revenge means we defend. You know? We do something bad to that person in return for what they did to me. It's a kind of defending the false ego, actually. So that's the Vaishnava mood, that no matter what happens to us, like Prahlad Maharaj, you know, his father was even trying to kill him in so many different ways, but he never thought of taking revenge, of doing something bad back to him. You know? When Nrsimhadev killed Hiranyakashipu, he offered him a blessing. But Prahlad Maharaj said, no, I don't want anything in return. You know? All I want is that my father is forgiven for all the offenses he committed. That is the Vaishnava heart. You know? That even though a person commits so many offenses, but we simply feel compassion. We feel, oh, let this person be forgiven for all the horrible things he did. You know? Yeah. So, being defamed means that our reputation is ruined. So usually we are very attached to our reputation. What is everybody thinking of me? You know? So if somebody spoils our reputation, ooh, this is a challenge for the false ego. You know? Isn't it? Yes, and we want to defend and do something back to them. You know? Or when we are cheated, like me on the taxation department there. This is a challenge to the false ego. Wanting justice and fairness, and this is not proper, and how can they? And so this is all the reactions of the false ego. Actually, good to identify it. You know? Usually, we think we are in the right, and you know we should act like that we want to defend and take revenge. But no, Vaishnava, you know, mood is that we simply tolerate. Cursed, well, Kali Yuga, the curses are not so powerful anymore, thank God. But disturbed, neglected, yeah, when we are neglected, when we are ignored, you know, or when we are insulted, that's also a challenge for the false ego when somebody insults us. Right? You understand insulting? Yes? Yeah, so these are all challenges to the false ego. Yes. But Vaishnava for himself, he is simply ready to tolerate. But if these things happen to somebody else, then he steps in and defends that person. We talked about it yesterday. Yeah, so we can just see that we are probably pretty far away from that level of tolerance. Right? Yes. Yes, and also interesting, you know, in Bhagavad Gita 269, Krishna says, what is day to the common person is night to the introspective sage. And what is day to the spiritualist is night to the materialist. So in other words, the world view of a materialist, of a spiritualist, are as different as day is from night. So that means what is success for a materialist most likely creates an obstacle for a spiritualist. And what is success for a spiritualist will be seen as what? What will it be seen? Failure. As being a loser. Right? Yes. And this quality of tolerance is a very good example. Actually, this day and night principle, this accompanies us throughout all our spiritual life. This day and night principle accompanies us throughout our whole spiritual practice. Yes. So tolerance is the topmost thing in spiritual life. But with mundane eyes, it is seen as being a loser. Right? What? You tolerate that? Forget it. I'm not going to tolerate that. I walk out. I get divorced. And you know, that's with mundane eyes. That's seen as success. To fight for yourself, defend, and not tolerate. But for Vaishnava, it's a failure. It's unwanted. Yeah, I mean, you know, like also, for example, in material life, sense gratification is the goal in life. Out of all sense gratification, sex life is the best. That's what everybody's striving for. So, but in spiritual life, we want to, you know, keep sense gratification, sex life at a minimum and try to get a higher taste. So they are so opposite. It can't be more opposite than that. And tolerance is also a good example of it. Yeah, so tolerance, so important. So now when we talk about tolerance, very often the question or the comment comes, but how much can we tolerate? And if I tolerate, then all this negativity builds up in me and I get sick or I explode sooner or later. So we have to distinguish between true tolerance and simply suppressing things. That's a difference, right? So what we usually think to be tolerance is actually simply suppressing something. And suppressing never leads to success. We are not meant to suppress anything in devotional life. Suppressing is not a good idea. So when we suppress the false ego's demands, we simply push it down, but internally the false ego is still demanding justice, fairness, revenge, defending ourselves. And so the false ego battle still continues in our heart, right? And that's why we have the experience that, things are building up in us, and then boom, we explode. But that is not tolerance. That is simply suppressing. Yeah. That's not what we recommend. Yeah. Because the false ego is not quietening down. False ego is still making its demands. So this internal false ego battle is still continuing. That doesn't lead to tolerance. So true tolerance, there are two tools we need to have to cultivate true tolerance.
смирение, истинското търпение.
We'll give you some time to catch up. So the first tool to cultivate tolerance is that we have this mood, actually I deserve so much worse. But Krishna is so kind, he only gives me one drop of what I really deserve. Yes. That tool, that vision, that approach, we have to cultivate. That, yeah, I have been such a rascal in this life and probably in so many previous lives. So I actually deserve so much more. So what Krishna gives me is actually nothing compared to what I really deserve. So having this attitude, what kind of quality do we need to have? What do you think? Intelligence, yeah, spiritual intelligence, yeah, true. But what else? What does it require? Soft heart, yes.
Может быть, настроение на ученическое.
What's he saying?
To be patient.
Yeah, well, we mentioned it. What's the primary quality? Humility, yes. We have to be a little humble, you know, to have this mood of saying, yes, I actually deserve so much worse than this. I'm only getting one drop of what I really deserve. So that is a humble attitude, right? But when we are proud, very difficult to have that attitude. So then the second tool is that we have to see Krishna's hand in the picture. That we have to connect whatever situation we are facing with Krishna being in control. That we see there must be some reason why Krishna gives me this situation. What does he want me to learn? What am I meant to learn here? Yes. That's actually what it means to be Krishna conscious. That in all spheres of life, we can see Krishna's hand in the picture. Yeah. Very often we can't see this. You know, I've observed it, that people do every morning their puja. They've been in Krishna consciousness for 30 years. But then some challenge comes and they cannot even see Krishna's arrangement in the whole situation. They refuse to see Krishna's hand in it. They can't. So this shows that we are actually not so Krishna conscious. You know, as I mentioned yesterday, we can very easily go in a very external way through the motions of Krishna consciousness, but internally there is not much work we are doing. And bhakti cannot really develop actually. It's a whole internal thing, Krishna consciousness. It's not a matter of just following the principles and doing things and that, but now we are meant to work on ourselves, on our hearts. Yeah, so that's the second tool we have to cultivate tolerance, that we see Krishna's arrangement in the whole picture, and that we can ask ourselves, what is Krishna trying to teach me here? There must be some reason why he puts me in this situation.
ситуация.
After all, not a blade of grass is moving without Krishna being in control.
Тръбичката може да помръдне без желанието на Кришна.
So now, what does that require? To have that vision of seeing Krishna's hand in the picture. We have to have something. I'll help you along here. We have to have something. What do we have to have? Any idea? Just to make you think.
Faith.
Very true. Good. Yes, we have to have faith in Krishna. Unflinching faith. Yes. Without faith in Krishna, we cannot see Krishna's hand in the picture. Very true. And I guess that's often what we are lacking, you know, that we actually don't have faith in Krishna. We like Krishna, yeah, especially on Sunday feast of Sharam and all that. All very nice. But the deeper faith in Krishna, that Krishna is actually there and He's arranging different situations for us, for our purification. That faith we may not even have at all. So without humility and faith in Krishna, we actually cannot cultivate true tolerance. All we do is we simply suppress things, you know, and we allow the false ego to continue making its demands. But if we have these approaches, that we have the mood, I actually deserve worse than this, Krishna is so kind to only give me one drop, and what is Krishna trying to teach me? This will quieten down the false ego's demands, right? Yes, yes. Amen. Maybe not immediately, and again, that's where we need a counselor who helps us to see Krishna's hand in the picture. What is He trying to teach me? You know? By ourselves, we can't see. False ego is blocking our ears, blocking our intelligence. We can't see what is Krishna trying to teach us, at least in our near-fine way stage. That's why we need the help of this well-wishing friend who has no other interest except my spiritual growth and development. Yeah. So, and if we have that help, and if we try to see Krishna's hand in the picture, and we try to cultivate that humility that actually Krishna only gives me one little drop of what I really deserve, then we learn to tolerate. Yes, we learn to tolerate. So the last thing before we ask for questions, I do want to give some 5 practical steps how to do this internal work of transforming false ego patterns of behaviors. Actually, it works for any internal transformation, whether it's false ego or envy or whatever it may be. Very practical steps which really work. I apply them myself, so I have some experience that they do work. So let us imagine after these 3 sessions on the false ego, we realize, oh, Bože moj, you know, every day I'm defending, oh my God, how will I get rid of this? Oh, false ego is so strong, and I never even identified it. I never even realized that this is false ego. So let us imagine we are in this situation. So what to do? Step number 1 is always hearing about the topic. That's why I like to discuss these topics, because hearing is the first step of becoming conscious. Prabhupada was saying, to become Krishna conscious, we have to become conscious first.
Първо трябва да станем осъзнати как го
And so often we are so unconscious,
много често
you know, especially towards these subtleties. We are not conscious. It basically means we are still pretty covered by tamaduna. Yes. So by hearing about these topics, we become more conscious, more mindful. Yes, this is how the false ego affects me. So after hearing comes the second step. Hopefully after hearing these things, we desire to do something about it. Then we realize, oh, I have to do some internal work here if I want to go back to Godhead. I can't just leave it all as it is and maintain my false ego patterns of behaviors. I actually have to do some work and I have to kick this out. So strong desire to make some change is the second step. So then comes step number 3. We have to be introspective and honest. Always reflecting what took place here in this exchange. Why do I feel not so nice in my heart now? What happened? Why did I say this? Why did I do this? So we constantly have to reflect and introspect in honesty. Because as we said, false ego contaminates the intelligence, and the contaminated intelligence always twists things around just to gratify our false ego's demands of being right. So it requires honesty. Yes. And this introspection and reflection has to become our second nature. We constantly have to reflect and introspect as we go through our day. Yes. That's what it means to be conscious. You know, that we are always mindful. How are my words affecting others? How are my activities affecting others? And you know, so we have to be always conscious and reflect. And at this point again, we need a counselor. You know? Yes. Because by ourselves, we may, be still trapped in these false ego patterns of behaviors, and we may think we have all the good reasons of being angry and defending and answering back and this and that. Yes. So we need this counselor at the third step to reflect. So, and in our neophyte stage we can't see, so then we need this well-wishing friend who says, hey, just relax, cool down, you're overdoing it a bit. And you shouldn't have acted like this. And this is your false ego creating your miseries here. And we need that help. We have to be humble enough to accept that help. Often we are too proud. We think, I know what I want, or I know what I'm doing. So, all right, you know. So these two words, I know, they are the main, stumbling blocks in developing ourselves. So if we think, I know, oh, well, okay, then everything will stay as it is because you know already everything. We can't transform with that attitude if we think, I know. And also let's remember, devotional life, bhakti, is ever increasing, it's unlimited. There is never a stage where we can say, I know. No, there's always something more to learn. So why limiting ourselves like this? By thinking, I know. Yeah, so then after the third step of introspecting and reflecting, the fourth step comes.
Четвъртата стъпка идва.
So fourth step is that we catch ourselves doing the wrong thing.
Хващаме себе си, че правим грешни неща.
That's already progress, because at least we catch ourselves doing the wrong thing. For so many years and probably lifetimes we were doing the wrong thing and we never realized. So now at least we realize, again, I couldn't shut up. I had to have the last word and answer back. And yes. So we catch ourselves doing the wrong thing. So now my question to you, what's the fifth step? Huh?
Decide not to do it.
Well, decide not to do it if it was just so easy. You know, it would be good if it was so easy. We can decide so many times to decide not to do it, and 5 minutes later we will do it again. So, what's the fifth step? Any other suggestions?
Да правиш обратното нещо.
He's saying to serve and she's saying to make the opposite thing.
If it was so easy, not so easy. So, what's the fifth step?
Да помолиш Кришна.
Huh?
She's saying to ask Krishna.
Yes, exactly. Cry out to Krishna. Yes, yes. Because false ego is like a Hiranyakashipu in our heart. It's a demoniac tendency, actually. In Kali Yuga, demon devotee, they live in one heart. You know, so these envy, false ego, they're like demoniac elements in our heart. And false ego has accompanied us for so many lifetimes. Because the subtle body of mind, intelligence, false ego, takes the soul to the next gross body. Right? So the same false ego we have been carrying with us for so many lifetimes. So we, out of our own strength, we can't free ourselves from this. But Lord Nrsimhadev, he is very expert. He is the heart surgeon with his sharp nails. So we have to beg Lord Nrsimhadev to enter our heart and pull out this Hiranyakashipu. This is the only chance to make some transformation. We need the help of Lord Nrsimhadev. He actually prepares our heart to approach Radha Krishna. Yeah. Like for those who've been to Mayapur, we always greet Lord Nrsimhadev first. Right? So, and then we go to Panchatattva. We need their mercy. So, and only then we approach Radha Madhav. There is a reason for this. This is not just by chance or something. Yes. So we have to really earnestly cry out deeply in our heart, beg Lord Nrsimhadev to perform the heart surgery. So yesterday in our chanting session, we were talking how we should chant by feelingly, helplessly call out to Krishna. So, once we honestly look in our heart, we realize that we have good reasons to cry out to Krishna. Oh my God. We have very good reasons. Yes. So crying out to Krishna, that's the step number 5. That's what we should be doing when we chant our japa. So, and when we do these last 3 steps of being introspective and honest, catching ourselves doing the wrong thing, crying out to Krishna, being introspective and honest, catching ourselves doing the wrong thing, crying out to Krishna, then sooner or later we come to step number 6, which is that we catch ourselves doing the right thing. So Krishna will arrange some daily situation like he does all the time. And then all of a sudden we realize, oh, this time I did not have to respond. I did not get provoked. I could just let it go by. I could tolerate it. I didn't have to say my thing about it. Yes. And then we realize, oh, this is working. We can gradually transform our false ego patterns of behaviors. Yes. Yes. And we realize a few weeks before we would have reacted differently. But now I could just let it go. Yes. And if a devotee agrees to do this internal work, especially these last 3 steps, that's actually when we make advancement. So making advancement in bhakti is not an external thing that, we get first initiation, second initiation, or we have some position, or we have a popular YouTube channel with so many followers, and. So this is all external stuff. But the real question of making advancement is if we agree to do this internal work, then we have started to actually take this process seriously. Alright, so it's 9 o'clock. Let us quickly see if we have 1 or 2 more questions. Hang on, let's first ask the others. You're always there so quickly. Let's start with you, Puru.
Ако не можем да постигнем някой вътрешно, но го правим външно, не държим се смирени с него и му се извиняваме, ако сме го засегнали по някакъв начин, това ще доведе ли до вътрешна промяна в
If internally I am not able to forgive to somebody, but externally I apologize or wherever I forgive him externally, will be this helpful to me and for the situation.
Actually, in the false ego book, there's a whole chapter on forgiveness. Because forgiveness is really connected to the false ego. I will read you one nice statement of Bhaktivinoda Thakur from the Chaitanya Shikshamrita, where he says, giving up the desire to punish a person for committing an offense is called forgiveness or tolerance. So tolerance means that we give up the desire to punish a person for committing some offense towards us. Right? And he says this is called forgiveness or tolerance. So it shows how forgiveness and tolerance are so connected. Actually, what stops us from forgiving is our own false ego's demands of wanting to do something bad to that person. Forgiveness, it's a very interesting topic which we don't have time now to discuss. But we often think that we forgive people for their sake.
прощаваме на хората за тяхно благо.
But actually, we have to forgive for our sake.
Ние трябва да прощаваме за наше добро всъщност.
Yes, because unless we learn to forgive, we can't move on.
Ако не се научим да прощаваме,
Yes.
няма как да продължим напред.
In the Fourth Ego book, it's a whole forgiveness meditation in it.
Има даже
A chapter.
медитация,
Forgiveness meditations.
как да простиш. Медитацията на прошка.
Yeah, they're very helpful.
Това е много.
I usually discuss this very often as a separate topic, the power of forgiveness.
Дискутирам като отделна тема силата на прошката.
So first of all, we have to understand, if we cannot forgive,
Ние трябва да
it's my problem.
Ако не мога да простя, това е мой проблем.
Yes. It's not the issue of the other person, but it's my problem.
Не е грешка на другия.
And it's the false ego which blocks us from forgiving. You know? Usually we don't even understand these things because they're all pretty subtle. You know? And we think we have a right not to forgive this person because he did this horrible thing. You know? Yes. But you remember Prahlad Maharaj, you know, his father wanted to kill him. And still his only prayer was, please let him be forgiven for all the activities he did. You know? Yes. That's the Vaishnava route. You know? That means not being influenced by the false ego. I mean, there's so much more to say, but we don't have time.
I have two small points and questions. What about philosophical view of point? Sometimes we're speaking on class, and could be even senior devotee giving some opinion which we don't agree according to our Vaishnava philosophy. Do we have a right to defend our statements according to Prabhupada's books? This is one
Okay, so translate.
Имам такъв въпрос, понякога може да не се наложи да даваме лекция и обясняваме нещата така, както сме ги разбрали според книгите на Прабхупада. Обаче може да има старши преводаен, който дава твърдение, с което ние не сме съгласни, че това е според книгите на Прабхупада. Имаме ли право да защитим нашето твърдение?
Okay, so if the person is senior, we have to be very careful.
Първото, което ако е старши преводаен,
because it's not really our position to correct that person or to point out some faults. Otherwise, very easily we become fault finding. And we always look, oh, what's he saying? And is this really according to Shastra? And you know, so we have to be very careful. That's why we have the Vaishnava etiquette, that, you know, as seniors, it's not our position. But what we can do is that we form our comment as a question. And we try our very best to ask this question in a humble mood and not challenging or provocative. So this is a good trick, you know, rather than saying, oh, Prabhupada says this and this, and, you know, actually it's like this, you know, rather making that statement, you ask the question, you know, that we say, oh, I vaguely remember, didn't Prabhupada say this and this and this? You know, what is your comment on this? That we inquire in humility rather than making the statement. You know?
някакво твърдение да давам.
And if the person is still having a different vision on things, better not to, definitely not in the class, to have a whole big discussion, you know, with a senior person. This is inappropriate, you know.
Тази личност има друго мнение, по-добре е.
I mean, when we see some shortcomings in a senior, the proper etiquette is that we report it to his senior. If it is something alarming, something dangerous, you know, then we report it. Because it's not our position to confront that person on these things. Yes. So we report it and we let them deal with it. Then we've done our responsibility and it's up to them to correct it or maybe just to let it go. But also many things in Krishna consciousness, it's not black and white, right and wrong. You know? Even amongst the previous acharyas, there's different moods, different visions, you know, and you know. So it is not all black and white. You know? I mean, there's these eternal arguments going on. Should Gornitai wear peacock feathers or not? You know, so there's reasons for both sides. Yes, you should. No, they shouldn't. You know, so yeah. Very easily, if we get caught up in these debates, then again it's a faulty goat thing. You know, so, yeah. But you know, if the person is equal or junior, again, best to ask the question in a question form to make that point and not in a correcting. And if we really think it's off the track, yeah, maybe better to give the correction in privately, you know, or if we can do it in a humble mood, wanting the very best for the person and the audience, you know, we can also give the correction maybe in the class or something. So what other points did you have?
The other is somebody can mistreat or cheat or even lie. We may forgive, but will we forget?
No. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting.
And
you know?
Yes, which means that we have to know how to deal next time.
Yes.
When
somebody
tries to mistreat.
So forgiving does not mean we forget. Oh no, we do remember. But forgiving, we change the way we remember things.
Yeah.
That's what takes place. You know?
Yeah.
By forgiving, we remember the incident without this bitter feeling and these grudges. You know? So we transform our memory of that incident. And of course we learn our lesson. You know, we may be more careful in future with that person. But we forgive, we let go, we move on. You know? Without forgiving, we can't move on. And we allow that person to still have this negative influence on us. You know? By not forgiving, we allow this person to still affect us in a negative way. Yeah. Any other question you had? You had any other?
From me?
Yeah.
Yes, I have. I want to give a chance to others, but my question is, what about in the mentor? If the mentor and the spiritual master have different opinions, and also GVC also sometimes they can have their opinions, and even the temple president, we can have opinions. And sometimes the devotees are in such a circle that they just leaving everything and just they're on their own. Many times happening like this.
Okay. Well, as I was saying, it's not black and white. See? Because Krishna consciousness is a whole dynamic process of transformation. As we said, Krishna says what is day to the materialist is night to the introspective sage. So, and our, the process of Krishna consciousness is meant to transform us. So our day of the materialist eventually becomes our night. Yes. So, and this is a dynamic process. So everywhere, everybody is on in a different stage of this transformational process. So we can't always, approach things with this right-wrong mentality. Because what is right to a devotee who is still closer to the day of the materialist will be wrong for a person, who is closer to the day of the spiritualist. So this right-wrong mentality, this creates problems. The philosophy is always absolute, but how we apply it depends on where we stand on that transformational journey. Right? So, we have to learn to respect each other's differences and viewpoints on things. And we have to respect each other's contributions, even though they may be very different than our contribution. So we simply have to learn to cooperate. That's why Prabhupada was saying, your love for me will be shown in how you cooperate. So cooperation means that we respect each other's differences and we can adjust and we learn to tolerate. Because very often these differences, well, they're actually not really affecting our cultivation of bhakti. Bhakti is not dependent on external situations. So even if there's differences amongst the leaders or whatever, so Bhagavatam is there, holy name is there, serving the deities is there, so we can still cultivate our bhakti, and we simply turn towards those personalities who are in the same mood, who have same goals and tastes, and we take guidance from them. But we can still cooperate with a temple president or GBC who is in a different mood. That's alright. They're not micromanaging our life, hopefully. So, the main processes of Shravanam Kirtanam is going on. So, and if we get too disturbed, there's plenty of other places where we can go. So it's our responsibility to find a community where we feel inspired to serve, and where we get enough senior association, enough nourishment, and so that's our responsibility. We can't just sit in one place and complain that it's no good. Then go somewhere else. Nobody's keeping us here or anywhere else. So it's up to us to choose a place where we feel inspired to serve. Okay, I think maybe we'll leave it at that. Even though there is other questions, but yes.
Yes, which means that the different instructions, the different people regarding us, the best, this is with my realization. If we try to make both, is the best. With the years, sometimes two instructions can look controversy, but on the higher level, you learn how to make both simultaneously without fight. But the question is, which means that doesn't matter what kind is the instruction, our internal Krishna consciousness cannot be affected by the different instructions coming from others. It depends on how we reflect on these instructions.
Yeah, but we also have to have a certain level of maturity, you know, and spiritual strength, not to be affected by other approaches or visions or something, you know. I mean, it's hard to answer such question in general terms. It depends a little bit on the actual situation, you know. Yes. Yeah. But I mean, our three references is always Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, you know. So things should be according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And if they're not according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, then maybe there's something wrong. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, there is room for different moods and approaches in ISKCON, because there's always people who want those approaches. You know?
Can you clarify?
Well, there is room for different moods. And there is room, there is space for different moods and approaches, because it's the devotees who want it. Right? Yeah, so if people would not want these approaches, who are maybe a little different or something, or not exactly what Prabhupada says, oh well, then there would be no room for this. It would not happen. But because there's people who want them, so that's why they exist. You know? So that's why we say Prabhupada build a house where the whole world can live in. So, you know, it's just simply a gradual process, and some people, in regards to the day-night thing, some people may just not want to transform, you know. They feel comfortable in the day of the materialists, and that's where they want to stay. Right? So when we are a little mature, we can see that alright, at least the person is trying to chant Hare Krishna and following the principles, and he or she is maybe not so eager to actually do this internal transformational work, you know, so alright, but we can still respect them as aspiring devotees, you know. We may not want to take up their mood, but we, you know, allow them, you know, to also be a part of ISKCON. There's one nice statement coming to my mind in the Bhagavatam, where it says, a non-envious person is strict with himself, but he can be liberal and accommodating with others. Yes. You know, whereas an envious person will demand everybody has to practice like me. But a non-envious person simply sets the personal example of being strict, and he can also, you know, accommodate others. You know? Prabhupada was very expert in this. You know. He was very strict with himself, but he could be liberal and understanding and accommodating with others who are not on that level yet. You know. All right, let's finish on that note. So thank you so much for your kind reception here and your eagerness to associate. So it was a great pleasure for me to visit. And yeah, I mean, I certainly wish you all the best in your development of your project. Prabhupada very much emphasized the importance of farm communities. Yeah, yes. And actually, I remember when the pandemic started, it really hit me why Prabhupada wanted these farm communities. That I realized, yes, life in Kali Yuga in the cities, it just gets too mad, you know, and we have to extricate ourselves from this madness of city life, and we have to build our Vaishnava communities in the country, especially also for children. It's very beneficial to grow up in a rural atmosphere. You know? City life for children, oh, it's hellish, very boring. No other kids to play with, and you know, so yes. So yeah, and seeing all these economic activities of growing things, so that's often missing in other ISKCON farms, you know. But your project starts from the other way around, you know, with first the economic things, and then comes the temple and the whole spiritual aspect. So it definitely has some good aspect there, because the economic basis is there, you know, or at least to some extent, and it can definitely be expanded and all that. Yeah, so very inspiring. So thank you for your hard work here and for trying to fulfill Prabhupada's desire for having a farm community. Okay, thank you. Oops, Srila Prabhupada ki. Sarvaveda Bhaktivinoda ki. Oh, oh yeah, and if there is anybody who still didn't get the books they want to get, so this is your last chance.
Ако някой, който не си е взел определена книга, пък иска да си вземе, сега е последна възможност.
Also, for those who don't know, the False Ego book is also available in Russian.